So that day that they did that to my child, I went into full mum warrior mode. And I was like, this is not right. This is unjust, and it's discrimination. It's unlawful. At the time, I was saying it's illegal. I found out it's not actually illegal for schools in the UK to do this to children. He fell into depression, and that is really hard for a mum when you're watching your son deteriorate in front of your eyes. And I'm a single mum as well, so that is really difficult.
We can see what doesn't exist and choose to rise above what is.
Multi-Millionaire.com.
I want you to know that wherever you are in your life right now, whatever situation you find yourself in, the universe, or if you believe in God, the universe and God, they have a plan just for you. Now, I know it might feel like, hold on for a second, like there's loads of things that have been going on in my life. Like, why are things not getting better for me? Why is my life not changing? But I promise you that you, at this present moment, as you're listening to the Multi-Millionaire podcast, you are in that situation in your life for a reason. Believe in that divine timing and trust the process, and just know, okay? Just know whatever is happening around you is happening for a reason. It's there to help you grow. It's there to help you learn a lesson. It's there to help you to become the best version of yourself. And life really is all about that perspective. And if you are just still like, oh, but this has happened and that has happened, trust me, I know it is so hard. But how you're going to get through this is two things. Number one, to know that this is temporary. What you're feeling right now, what you're thinking right now, the situation you're in right now is a temporary situation that will not, is impossible, okay? It will not last forever. Life is always changing. Energy is always flowing and changing every single minute, okay? So believe that with all your heart and soul. And the second thing is perspective. What is your current look, your current view on the situation you're going through in your life? And today, I actually really need your help. And I need your help in changing the destiny of vulnerable, neglected children in Oxfordshire. And unfortunately, what's happened to me and my son and lots of other families in this area is happening up and down the UK right now. And we're going to get into how hopefully you can help me to help these children, because when you hear this story, they don't deserve it. They're children, and people in authority are covering up what's going on. So something extremely neglectful is happening, and I've had enough of it. Like, I've had enough. And I know all the families who are in this situation, they have been pushed into financial, psychological, emotional crisis. And that's their parents. Imagine what this is doing for their children. And I'm going to tell you all of the story in just a second so you can explain more, and hopefully you can get involved in some way as well. But if you've never listened to the Multi-Millionaire podcast before, hello, my name is Vina V. I'm a qualified hypnotherapist, and I help you achieve unstoppable confidence in all areas of your life. I'm about to be a founder of a very exciting company that, again, hopefully, fingers crossed, you will want to support and get involved with. And if you've never listened to the Multi-Millionaire podcast before, we are here every single Thursday at 10 a.m, bringing to you an unheard story from an inspirational woman from across the world. And it's my hope that by hearing these unheard stories, that it empowers you to use your voice and reclaim back your power. Because whatever situation you find yourself in, and that's been the theme of today's podcast, is that you can reclaim your power back at any moment that you decide. You are in control of your life. And I've been teaching this to my son that, oh my God, I'm not going to cry, because I have cried, I think, in every single podcast. I swear, for the last year. So I'm not going to cry today. But I've been teaching this to my son that, yes, and I'm going to get into the story because it's probably sounding a bit complicated now. It's like, what is this story she's trying to tell us? I've been teaching him every day that people in authority, people down the road, whoever it is, they can do things to you, but it's how you react to that. It's how you respond. That's how you take control of your life and reclaim the power that we all have within us. We can't control what other people are going to do, but we can control how we respond, and we can control the perspective, our lens. How are we looking at a certain situation? Okay, so story in brief. Be warned, this is quite complex to how we even got to this point, and then all the kind of snowball effect that happened after. But so you know a bit more about our story and what's been going on, 6 months ago, I was told in a phone call, hello, yeah, my son's not coming back to school. And I looked at my phone and I was like, you what? You what? What do you mean my son isn't coming back to school? So that is what happened. His secondary school called me and said he's not coming back to school. Now, I didn't know that this was a legal thing. In my mind, this is illegal. It is highly unlawful. But there seems to be some kind of loophole where schools, and bear in mind that before this secondary school did this to my son, they'd already done this to 12 other children before him. So this was like a normal protocol where for me, I'm just like, how is this legal? This is just, I still can't fathom the fact that my son is still on roll with his secondary school. Okay, so if you know, he is still a child that technically goes to the school, but they're not allowing him in to school. And if I kind of give you a bit more context on that, like, they didn't just randomly call me. It wasn't like he was sat there in every class and they just decided one day they don't want him at that school anymore. This was a series of failings that led to that point from them. So my son and some other children like him as well have additional needs. Now, whether that be autism, ADHD, dyslexia, there's a whole range of challenges that children go through where they just need that little bit of extra support where they can learn, because all children are different. All children are so amazingly unique. And as adults, we need to facilitate that learning for them and actually celebrate their differences, celebrate that children, their brains work differently. They don't work all the same uniformed way. So I still don't know why we're trying to force kids to try and conform when we should be celebrating how different and unique they all are. But anywho, we digress a little bit there. So, there was a series of failings from the school. He got in a bit of trouble. He got in a few fights. But again, like I was alluding to before, these children have underlying issues, whether that be, like I said, autism, ADHD, or in my son's case, he's not actually diagnosed with anything, but he has got mental health issues. He needs support. He was a victim of domestic abuse, and instead of his school supporting him through that, and again, to kind of backtrack even more here, without going too much into the personal side of things, because that's still ongoing, we've got going on in our lives as well, but something very traumatic happened to him, very psychologically damaging, if that's the word I can use as well, something that triggered him off. And this incident happened at school, and actually just outside the school gates. He came back home, a lot of anxiety that day. He was sick everywhere because of his extreme anxiety, and this incident had just triggered him as well. He then stayed at home for 2 or 3 days because he was so scared to leave the house in case this incident happened again. And this was nothing to do with the school at that point. This was something else that triggered him off. Now, when he returned to school and he had the bravery and courage to do so, rather than him getting support through that traumatic incident, he got excluded a few days after that incident. And then we went in a downward spiral of the school excluding, not supporting. He would come back. Of course, you're going to act in the same way because you're not getting that support that he needed from his school. And also bear in mind, my son comes with an additional pot of money. So some of these children have something called an EHCP, which means the school gets extra funding for that child. So the school are getting extra money. So this isn't us or other families like us going, oh my God, spend all the money on our children, like they need it. No, they've got the money to deal and help with these the issues that children present with, okay? And I understand, by the way, I've got teachers in my family. I know it's a hard job to be a teacher. I have so much empathy for teachers. But what has happened at this specific school, no one can make an excuse for. And this is why I am using my voice to try and change things, because yes, there is lots of issues that go on at school, and it's so difficult, isn't it, for parents, for children, and for teachers. But everyone's got to work together. And in this case, it's a bit different because they've done this to a lot of children. And when I've spoken to Oh, actually, before I move on to that, sorry, let me keep going. I should really write this down, shouldn't I? So this gives you a clear and cohesive storyline. So we've gone through a series of exclusions now to the point where they called me up and they said he's not coming back in. Now, bearing in mind my son has already gone through so much trauma in his life and over the kind of last year leading up to this phone call from the school, they just presumed that I wouldn't question what they're doing and I wouldn't challenge them, and I would just be like, okay, I would just accept it, and he would just be at home with nothing. So that day that they did that to my child, I went into full mum warrior mode, and I was like, this is not right, this is unjust, and it's discrimination, it's unlawful. At the time I was saying it's illegal. I found out it's not actually illegal for schools in the UK to do this to children. So I found out now that there's up to 20 children from the same school who are at home right now as you're watching this video. They are at home with nothing. Some of them will be left by themselves because their parents have to obviously go out and work, and they haven't got access to education. They haven't got access to support, which the school is keeping the money for. And they haven't got access to any other children, any of their teachers. They've been completely cut off from everything. Now, it still really baffles me how this is happening. I have raised the alarm to social services, to the police, to senior members of the council who were very complicit in what's going on to these children. And I'll tell you something here which will make you laugh. So the day they did this to my son, I rang the council straight away, like literally went crying to them like, oh my God, they've done this to my son. They've done this. They've said... I found out now, a few months later, they already knew what was going on because they've already done it to all these other children. And the school had already informed the council of what they were doing. So stupidly, I'm running to the council saying, help, raising alarm bells. How is this possible? But the council already knew about it. So they're making me explain a story, which they already knew what was going on. So let me try and say this in the most kind of clear and succinct way as possible, just so it makes sense, because I know there's probably loads of questions you've got now. It's like, what? What's going? Why can't you move them to another school? Why? There's so many questions that come from this. And it is complex. It is so complex. But kind of the main bullet points to this story is that my son and these other 20, maybe it's more children in this area alone. Remember, this happens to thousands of children up and down the country. They aren't in school for whatever reason. Some are done in the way which was done to my son, where they said, you're not coming back in. Some children get permanently excluded. Some children are on part-time timetables, which means the school only allowed them to go in for maybe 2 days a week. And for the rest of the 3 days, they're at home with nothing. It could be a fact of some children are really anxious because maybe they're getting bullied at school, or maybe there's other, again, complexities to why they don't want to go into school. And again, it's a school's responsibility to find something for that child, to give them some form of education, to give them some provisions, alternative provisions they're called, where the child can go and still feel included. They can still go and learn. Because in this country, in the UK, every child by law has to be in school from, I think it's the age of 5 to, I think they've raised it now, haven't they, to 18. Unless, of course, you electively homeschool your child, which means you're on your own. You won't get any kind of help and support from schools or the local authorities. And that's kind of maybe another topic in itself. But yeah, so everyone knows about what's happening to my son and the rest of these 20 kids in the area. They know they're at home, the majority of them with nothing. Some of them are in GCSE year. Luckily for my son, he's 12. He's in year 8. He's going to be all right. Like at the time when this happened last year, you know, I still feel emotional saying this story now because it's, oh God, it's so, and this is the hardest thing. It's hard for me to get all those kind of emotions and feelings, and things happen on a daily basis. These kids don't just get failed once, they get failed over and over again. So even when, you know, they told me he's not coming back into school, that wasn't even the first failure. Let's be honest here. That was, I don't know, maybe the 10th failure. And then it keeps getting failed. Sometimes we would get a tutor. The tutor wouldn't turn up. Things get cancelled. And because he's not in school, there's no plan for him. I think he was at home with nothing for about 2 weeks because he was just so anxious. He fell into depression. And that is really hard for a mum when you're watching your son deteriorate in front of your eyes. And I'm a single mum as well, so that is really difficult when I'm trying all like I can. And I'm lucky in the sense that I'm a hypnotherapist and I can try and use the tools that I've learned and I use on my clients. I can, you know, try and help my son. But being one person, trying to be his mum, his therapist, trying to teach him things, and trying to make money, run a business, that's really difficult. And that's what I think makes me the most emotional, is that these families and parents are not asking for much. It's just to be supported. That is it. If these schools don't want these amazing children, don't have them. Do you know what? Because these children are so amazing, they're better off out of that system. But if a school is going to do that, you've got to put a plan in place. You've got to help support that child. And this is what is hard for me to come to terms with, is that how can you neglect and abandon these children? And these parents, I know they're like me, they're fighting. They're getting people involved. They're writing letters to, I've written letters to so many people in the council, to the Education Secretary of the UK, to my local MP, to the Children's Commissioner's Office, to Ofsted. So many people know what's going on, and no one can do anything, or no one wants to do anything, which is even more disturbing, because these people, they're working in an industry with children, and that really concerns me, that these adults in authority allow this to happen without question. They just let it happen. I've tried to fight the system for the last 6 months, and it's draining. Like I said, I watched my son go into depression. I was at breaking point. I wasn't earning hardly any money at all. Thank you to my parents who supported me. And then I think about the other parents, think, what if they haven't got parents to support them? What are they going to be doing? So it is a lot. And like I said right at the beginning, it is complex. It's not just one issue here, it's so many different things. And but I'm sick of fighting. I can't fight the system anymore. It's designed so parents fail. It's designed so parents give up. And that is what I think the council and his secondary school want me to do. They want me to be quiet. They want me to just fade off into the distance and sit back and watch this happen to my son and other children. And no, sorry. Sorry, love. I'm not doing that. So I'm fighting in another way now, and I really would love your help and support. There's a link below this video if you're watching this, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes. Please go to mum2millionaire.com and click on the donate button. I am now, rather than putting all my energy into fighting against the system that is designed where you fail anyway, I am putting all my energy into creating a brand new company that is going to help these children who are at home right now as you're watching this video. A lot of them aren't going to get any GCSEs because they're not allowed to go into school. They got nowhere to take them. And yeah, I just want to change their story. And if you can help in any way, please donate. If it's a few pounds, please don't feel you need to give loads of money. A few pounds from everyone will make such a difference, because then I'm going to get some of these children, I'm going to create this company, and I'm going to provide a safe place for them. I'm going to buy them computers. I'm going to teach them how to podcast. I'm going to get amazing inspirational speakers coming in, speaking to the children, and then I'm going to get the children to interview them. I'm going to be creating their own platform for them. So when they do leave me at the age of 16, they might not have GCSEs, but do you know what? They are going to have a CV full of experience, full of people they've interviewed. It's going to have team building skills. I'm going to do something every morning with them where they learn about their mind and the power of their thoughts and how they are in control of their lives. Oh, there's so much. I'll leave the link below this video. And again, look at the podcast description if you are listening to this on iTunes or Spotify. I'll put the link to the website I've created so you can see what I'm trying to do for these children that have been forgotten about. It's the forgotten children, and if I can help change 5 kids' lives, in this area, then at least, it's helping 5 children. So yeah, if you can help and support in any way, please do donate. All the information, and it's when you go and look at the donate page, the story is kind of presented in front of you and is probably much better described than what I've just tried to do you in today's podcast. But if you do have any questions, come over to the Mum-to-Millionaire YouTube channel, comment below, and I will answer any questions you've got, whether it's about kind of what I'm doing at the moment, I don't know, anything you want to ask about the story, do comment below and I will make sure I answer them. I hope I have explained this in a coherent way. In summary, these children have been abandoned by the school and the council. They are at home. Many of them can't apply for a new school, or even if they want to go to another school, the places in Oxfordshire are all full. So they can't get into a lot of these schools as well. Everyone knows about this situation. Like I said, gone down all the formal routes possible before I've started to make this public, because I know that's a thing for some people. I tried to resolve this in private for more than a year now. I've gone through the formal complaints procedure with school. I've gone to something called the LGO, which is the local government ombudsman. And they have already found that there is fault within the council, and so they're now doing a full investigation into the failings of them. And everyone can see it. Everyone knows that this isn't right. Yet, what's getting done to address this issue? Nothing. So there we go. I hope that you can help support this mission. And like I said, go and have a look at the website. I'll leave the links below. mum2millionaire.com. So MUMTO millionaire, mum2millionaire.com. And there's a donate button on there. And then you can look more into this story, what is going on to these children. And hopefully I can do something. I really hope so. Yeah. I just still can't believe I have to tell this story, because I just still don't get how people can leave children. I don't get it. And a lot of these parents I've spoken to as well, some of them have fallen into depression themselves. One mum, she lost her job over this, and now she's at home depressed. And her son was out of school, I think it was for 18 months. Some of these kids have been out for 3 years. 3 years. And no one's doing anything. I don't get it. I don't get it. But thank you so much. This is the Mum-to-Millionaire podcast. We are here every single Thursday, 10 a.m. with a brand new episode. Next week, we've got an amazing lady on. Oh, we've got so many brilliant women coming on. Mum-to-Millionaire. This is the podcast for mums that shares unheard stories of inspirational women from around the world who are overcoming or who have overcame adversity in business and motherhood. Okay, so please make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Spotify and iTunes if you haven't done so already. And I will see you next Thursday right here on Mum-to-Millionaire. Remember, use your voice and reclaim your power. You are in control of your life. And on the screen right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's some other videos that you can watch, so make sure you go and click on those. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, go ahead and look at all the other fantastic interviews we've got on the Mum-to-Millionaire podcast.